Found you. Good day all, RobotnikHolmes here. You guys know about comics and their one-off specials, and this series is no different. We got our first special, a fricking 48-page one here. Looks like I got my work cut out for me. However, I'm super prepared for the task. Peachy fricking keen, in fact. And I simply cannot wait to see how it holds up. But before we get into that, we have something to discuss. Who here remembers Nicole? Oh, alright, a lot of you do. She was a pretty great character. You guys know Nicole, but how many of you remember Nicole? Didn't think so. Initially in the show, before she received her more familiar design, she was simply Sally's helpful handheld device. It was like that in every episode of the SatAM cartoon. Except for the pilot though. What is this? She looks like Karen from SpongeBob. Anyway, back on topic. This comic in particular has the debut of our favourite digital freedom fighter. And while I don't remember the other contents of this special, I'm sure we'll find out as the video goes on. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Today we're getting into the first one-off special, Sonic in Your Face. Oh my god. Typical of Sonic comics back then, the image adorning this cover has little to no relevance to any story, plot point or character beat within its pages. Also, look at it, it's jarring as frick. What do Sonic's friends do when they're riding a roller coaster that seems to go in and out of their best friend's insides? Make a pun about how he has a big mouth. Of course. Anyway, to begin with the main story, we see Sonic and Sally practicing together. Apparently they have a dojo or gym in Knothole for exactly this purpose. The story we're looking into was also called The Quest. Very creative, guys. We don't get to see much of Sally's combat skills, as she's still lingering on the events that went on in the mainline series, such as the random meteor crashing and the death of her mentor Julayla. And in a retread of that same story, Sally is once again whisked away to personal matters by Rosie. Don't worry, it's not another death scene. Instead, Sally is shown all the stuff that Julayla owned, which she's now inherited, I guess. Amidst all the boxes and junk, Sally comes across a vest that apparently was meant to be given to her on her wedding. But to hell with it, put that iconic blue vest on, Sally. You looked practically naked without it. And that's no lie, you're nude. The princess also finds a map within the chest, which seems super important, but she decides to take a break from all the stress and inquire it tomorrow. That's the spirit, it's always good to take breaks. However, that night, Sally's sleep is disrupted when the weird orb thing from earlier starts putting on a light show. They've been building up the significance of this strange hologram space thing, and finally, with a computerized voice greeting the freedom fighter, we get a reveal. Yes, it's Nicole, the handheld device from the cartoon, and the two seem to instantly be familiar with each other. A little too familiar. Nicole's appearance also woke up the others, and all the freedom fighters are here and accounted for. They're also curious over the device, which Sonic in particular handles with less care than I do with pineapples on pizza, and the hedgehog gets electrified for his troubles. Sonic dismisses the device, understandable as it could always be one of Robotnik's tricks, but Sally shows she emphasises with Nicole in the short moments they spent together, and this cuts to next day, where using the map, Sally wishes to go and fulfill Julayla's final test and go to this Forbidden Zone, a place where in an earlier issue was implied to be a kind of no man's land in between Knothole and Dr. Robotnik City, and that in itself is a location in the original cartoon where it was this resting place for an evil wizard. Sorry, I'm rambling again, aren't I? Sonic and the others see that Sally is planning to go out alone, and after some persuasion, they all fly there in the now pink tornado. We get right into the action, and all the heroes except Rota skydive off into the dreaded drop area. Hey gamers, where are we dropping? They get into a little bit of trouble, as there are swap bots everywhere, but even the soulless metal husks know that the Forbidden Zone is a dangerous place. The bots just leave the heroes to their supposed doom. Sure, don't kill them. The freedom fighters continue forth while following the map, but what a dangerous dank-ass zone without a few obstacles. The first one, a giant fricking Cyclops robot. A pretty odd thing to find here. The robot proves to be quite tough, even holding back the hedgehog himself, and you know it means business if Sonic himself actually loses to something in this comic. Thankfully, with a few helpful hints from Navitron, the blue bugger gets an idea and just stands there motionless, doing nothing. Surprisingly, that's enough to shut off the Cyclops' motion sensor, and also shut it off entirely. Man, that was anticlimactic. Let's continue through the Cave of Obstacles. Behind door number 2 is a fire-breathing griffin. Yeah, this cave seems to be a hodgepodge of different fantasy and sci-fi monsters. Anyway, at this moment, it's Tails' time to shine, as both of them are of the flying type, and it goes as well as you think a kid would do against a mythical creature. Luckily, there's a sword nearby, as luck would have it. So, Tails pulls the handy fricking sword out of the stone, and while heroic of him to try and save Sonic and the others, the beast seems to die the moment it's pulled out. Well, oh wait, no time for a break. Next up, the Freedom Fighters meet a two-headed monster. Nicole was able to give a detailed and hefty info dump on what the heck this thing is. But it basically boils down to them guarding doors, and one head always telling the truth and the other always lying. Like those creatures from Labyrinth, now that I think about it. Sunny says a thing to try and stump the two-headed bioweapon thing, and long story short, they go through the right door and discover what appears to be a smaller version of the chest Julela left. It's the end of the Freedom Fighters' quest, and what exactly is inside? A letter! Wow, what's so great about that? Well, nothing, in the present at least, because the story cuts to many years into the supposed future, where Sonic and Sally are the rulers of Mobius and haven't aged a day. Wonders of the future, I guess. The other Freedom Fighters are also there, and each of them have a different physical attribute that makes me question what the writer thinks their ages are supposed to be. I mean, it's nice to see Bunny got unroboticized, but what's up with Antoine's old man beard? Yeah, I'm not what you call a fan of the foregone conclusion where in the future everyone is happy, but I'll get more into that in the review section. The point of this peek into the future is not only to ham-fistedly explain that everything is great for the heroes after Dr. Robotnik is beaten, but we also see future Rota completing his invention. Nicole? Wait a minute. That means Nicole, a device used by Sally to help combat Robotnik, was actually made in the future and sent back in time so that future Princess Sally could help out her past self? That's actually so crazy, I think it sort of comes back around as being heartwarming? I don't know. The theme of someone always needing a friend comes full circle, and we close it off with future Sally overlooking her peaceful kingdom as she reflects on the late Julela's wise words. Get good. But enough of that serious stuff, let's get into something more mundane. So the other stories are nothing much to talk about, but I'll get into them anyway. Archie Comics must have thought these were important enough to put them in the special alongside this whopper. Let's see, Mirror Zone, this gimmicky two-page story where Sonic fights Swapbots after entering this random mirrored world all of a sudden. Yep, the takeaway of this one is that halfway through, every word bubble becomes mirrored, requiring the reader to hold the thing up to a mirror the whole time. Well, joke's on you, Sonic in your face, I've got Adobe Premiere. So, as soon as they're out of the mirror dimension, the heroes find what appears to be a secret code. Whatever could it be? I don't care. The last story in this special is a solo adventure starring Tails on his own. It's not as big and grand as it makes it out to be though. It's also written and drawn by original artist Scott Shaw, whose art we haven't seen since the original Sonic miniseries now that I think about it. So, at the local Sonic Con, a place where Mobians go to gush and have arguments about the different characters. What is this? The physical representation of an online form? Tails makes an announcement at the con, as Sonic turned down the offer to make an appearance, and the two-tailed kid goes on to brag about all the heroic things he's done, like beat up a giant frog robot. Tails, you can barely take on a Swapbot in the cartoon, who do you think you are? Anyway, Tails is forced to put the money where his mouth is, as an actual threat in the form of Dr. Robotnik arrives in a doofy-looking mech. And Tails is asked to show off his heroics to impress the girl he likes. As expected, he gets his ass kicked. But when Tails realizes the fans are going to get hurt if he doesn't do anything, he thinks to use an outside-the-box method to defeat Robotnik. What does he decide to do? Well, that. So Robotnik is left dizzy and runs away like a fricking pansy. Tails gets a peck on the cheek as a reward, and everything is all in good. Yep, that was a comic from the early 90s, alright. Jeez, talk about being below expectations. What at first seems like a silly romp through scenarios, like the heroes going through Sonic's mouth, turns out to be an actually interesting story spanning different time periods, which in turn turns out to be pretty crappy. There was the whole setup of Sally getting Nicole and she and the others going on a quest that Julela left him, but just about everything following that, as a narrative, gets repetitive and drab as hell. The Freedom Fighters are challenged by an easily defeated monster of no importance. They are dealt with in a simplistic and anticlimactic method. Rinse and repeat until I fall asleep. The other stories in the comic are stories by technicality. They don't add much at all except to show that Scott Shaw and Mike Gallagher are still writing stuff, which includes the pages where you have to use a mirror to read half of it. I'm sure at the time it was an enjoyable inclusion, but to me it just comes off as very gimmicky. Now, for a second, can we talk about the good future? No, not that good future. This one. I'm happy for the characters and that they get a happy ending in the end, what with Dr. Robotnik gone, but as a reader, especially one that is heavily invested in the characters and the struggles they go through as they fight an evil dictatorship, it freaking blows. I see this and think the writers are trying to diminish the importance of the characters and settings in the present by showing how nice and pleasant they are when it's all over. I mean, it's noted at probably not being the future, but rather a possible future, but still, this and Nick Holmes' complicated origins can kiss my ass. Story gets a 2. While I dislike the writing, Art Mawhinney still does a good job. The guy who worked on the SatAM cartoon proves once again he can draw the freedom fighters with great detail. However, I wish the colorists at the time remembered to use the right colour palettes, because in this special I noted many wonderful if off-putting mistakes, such as Rosie's muzzle being bright instead of a light chestnut, and my buddy Antoine looking like he's seen the end of days. It was nice seeing Scott Shaw again, even if his art reminds me of the times when continuity was pointless. He did make the character of Tails fun to read though, which is the best I can say for everyone in this issue except maybe Sally. The other freedom fighters were just tag-alongs for whatever the story had in store for them. At least I wasn't bored looking at it. The art and characters I will have to give a 2. So, final score for this special edition is a 4 out of 10. Anticlimactic is the word I'd use for it. I just wish it was near as good as the setup. Man, Ken Penders, you really have to up your game. It's hard for me to enjoy your stuff when you keep playing with hype. There you are. Finally, I have returned to show everyone what they so coldly dismiss. Great, is that version of me that's evil or something? Don't play coy, you bastard. And I'm not evil, I just like wearing these clothes. At least I'm not the one wearing a green Eggman jacket. Hey now, a pizza guy's gotta look his best. You can't blame me for dressing like this when I'm cooking stuff. Hi. Also, this is the reason why I hold a pizza cutter in the intro, by the way. Also, what are you doing here? I thought I had you cleared out of my studio after you decided to take over. If you really want to know, I came back because you do such a poor job at this reviewing thing. It's best I take the goddamn reins and you piss off for good. Also, you really need to cut Ken Penders some slack, dude. Wait, that guy? I don't care about Penders. But I've not, slammed him with his earlier works or anything. I really hoped it wouldn't come to this, but you pushed me. I highly advise you to clear off, or else I'll have to pizza cutter you to death, though I don't know how to actually fight with it. I hoped you'd say that. I also came prepared. Let's settle this, to see which of us is worthier to look at these comics. Sound good to you, Faker? I'll make you eat those words, with a side order of shutting the hell up. Bring it on!